Hello, this is Debbie with Things I Didn't Plan to Learn. I'm going to be talking today to the black sheep out there because I'm a black sheep too. And I want to tell you a little bit how I found out about that. When I was a teenager, in my late teens, I was sitting around the dining room table with my family, which consisted of my mother and my father, my brother, who was 3 years younger than I was, and my sister, who was 9 years younger than I was. And all of a sudden, out of the blue sky, my mother says, "Debbie, you're the black sheep of the family." And I remember being really surprised, like, why is she saying this? What did I do? What makes me so different? I don't even know what's going on. Nobody in my family said anything. There was just silence. And it was never really brought up again. But I did feel like I was treated differently from the other kids in the family, even though I was the oldest. I felt like throughout my life, I kind of was the butt of a lot of jokes, and I tried to I made fun of my brother every chance that I got because he was my nemesis, but in a nice way, and I still do to this day. But I just always just kind of let that whole thing roll off my back after my mother said that to me. But then these days I've been thinking about it. And I remember when I went off to college, my dad was the last one to see me before I went into the dormitory. And he said, "Deb, you know, nobody knows you here, so you can be whoever you want to be." And I was thinking, what does he mean by that? Is what I am not something that I should be? I need to be a different person, or what is he trying to tell me? I don't know. But I said thanks, and then I left, and I went off to college, and I had a wonderful time there. But lately I've been thinking about what they had said to me, and so I kind of get the feeling that they thought I was really, really kind of strange, and I started to research it a little bit more. So I thought I would talk about this topic today because maybe some of you are the black sheep of your family, and maybe you know why, and maybe you don't know why your family thinks that way. But I want to tell you what the definition was that I found. It said, someone who feels excluded or misunderstood by their family due to differing beliefs, behaviors, or life choices. And I will say that now that I am almost 77 years old, and I've made a lot of life choices that my family did not like, that I guess they predicted it ahead of time that I was going to do that. So I really don't feel bad about it. It was my choice to live my life the way that I wanted to live it, and that's what I did. So the choices that I made were not choices that they would have made, and they made that clear to me. For example, when I wanted to get married, I've been married more than once. When I wanted to get married initially, they did not want me to marry that person. They kept trying to talk me into going back with my old boyfriend, who they didn't like either. And I was like, what? And so I did get married to that person, and then eventually I did get divorced. And then they said to me, "Oh, you can't tell anyone that you got divorced. You can't tell anyone. You can't tell anyone in the neighborhood or in our family." And I said, "What? How am I not going to tell anyone in the family that I got divorced? Obviously, they're going to know that." And they said, "No, don't tell anyone." And I said, "Well, I'm going to have to tell people." And then they wanted me to change my name back to my maiden name. And I said, no, I'm not going to change my name back. And so they were upset about it. Even though they didn't want me to marry the person in the first place, then they didn't want me to tell anybody that I was getting divorced. So you just can't please all the people all the time. Another thing is sometimes the black sheep will be scapegoated by the family. And I was made the butt of the joke, and I still am made the butt of the joke to this day. But it doesn't really bother me, and it's not really that big of a deal. It's just kind of a funny thing. But I guess some people can get really meanly scapegoated by their family. And luckily that did not happen to me. So I'm thankful for that. Now, if you are the black sheep of the family, I think that it's a good thing that you're the black sheep of the family, because it says that the black sheep of the family is generally very creative. They are a nonconformist. They are independent, sensitive, and resilient. They're strong, and they have very strong coping mechanisms. Those are all really good qualities to have, I think, anyway. And I would say that I do have those qualities. And I know that I've definitely made a lot of mistakes in my life and done things that my family certainly would not approve of. But like I said, it's my life, and I have to make my own choices, and I have to follow my own path and see where it leads me. Now, I always said to myself, when you're 35, tell mom and dad all the bad things that you've done, because I had a lot of bad things that I did. I'll tell you one of the bad things that I did that I was going to tell them when I turned 35. Okay, I worked at a grocery store in the meat department, and I did a lot of bad things in the meat department. We used to roll up meatballs and throw them on the ceiling and wait for them to drop into people's carts, and did a lot of goofy things like that. But one time, the boys that worked as stock boys in the grocery store said, "Hey, Debbie, we're going to go to the beach." And Bonnie, the other person that worked in the deli with me, who was a little older than I was and was already in college, she was going to go too. And so I thought, okay. And it was my 18th birthday. So I told my parents that I was going to Bonnie's house for a sleepover. But instead, I was going to the beach. In Canada, we lived on the border, and so it was pretty common for people from the Buffalo area to go to Canada. And so we went to Canada at night, and we had a cookout on the beach. And while we were there, about 2 o'clock in the morning, these two guys came over the hill wearing red and white, looked like pajamas. And it was just like in the movies where you see these people that are escaping from prison or jail. It was two convicts that had escaped from somewhere that came over and came to our bonfire and sat around with us. And so really bad things could have happened that night. We could have been killed or who knows what. But nothing bad did happen. And the next day I went home and I acted like I had been to Bonnie's house for a sleepover, and instead that's what I had done. So that was one of the things I was going to tell them when I turned 35. But when I turned 35, I decided, no, I don't want to tell them, because they would freak out if I told them that. So I never did. And then I've had a lot of other stories that would have really got them upset. So I just saved all those stories for myself, and they don't know anything about them. And they've already passed away. So now they heard it. Now they know all about it. I hope that they don't get too shocked. But if you're a black sheep. Accept that you may be a little bit different, but that's a good thing. I think being different is a good thing. I don't want to be like everybody else. I never wanted to be like everybody else. When I was in high school, I would see all the girls in the hall, and they would all be talking gossip and talking about this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I used to call them the morning glories because they were just out there just, ah. And I thought, wow, I'm not one of them, and I never will be, but I don't really want to be like them. I like being different. And, you know, if you're a black sheep, then celebrate it. Be proud of yourself. And if you are a black sheep, be brave and put it in the comments and let me see. Let me see how many black sheep are out there. And if you have any comments about how you've been treated as the black sheep of your family, or maybe of a group of friends or something, please mention it in the comments. I'll reply to each and every comment. And please subscribe to my channel. I need new subscribers. I'm a new channel and I really, really need new subscribers. Please like the video and thank you for coming and watch another video of mine. Thank you.